Have you ever been cared for by any type of a healthcare provider that you really liked? On the other hand, have you ever had an experience at the hands of a doctor that you couldn't stand and you never went back? In studies that have been done on healthcare providers that get high marks from their patients, a key common denominator surfaced. Now, it was relatively undetectable at first. In fact, researchers really had to dig to find it. In one study, they even recorded doctor consults with their patients to study every aspect of the interaction between provider and patient. When all the analysis was complete, one key characteristic of their communication had the biggest positive or negative impact on patients than anything else they did. It was tone of voice. No matter what the providers said, the tone of voice with which they said it colored the entire conversation and impacted how the patients felt about them, their experience, and their recommendations. If they were condescending in their tone, it negatively impacted how the patient received the recommendation and how they felt about the person recommending it. For example, I was with an orthopedic surgeon recently with one of my children who had spent 6 months recovering from a serious back problem. When I asked the doctor what we could do to prevent the problem from happening again, my question was condescendingly dismissed with, "It was a freak accident. It won't happen again." The tone of voice with which that message was delivered spoke volumes. When I followed up with another question, the response was, "If you're that worried about it, go ask the physical therapist." My concern was dismissed twice with a condescending, doctor knows best attitude. Needless to say, we won't be going back, and we won't be recommending that doctor to anyone. Maybe a little bit of well-known advice from mom or dad would be good to remember here. You recall when you got a little overconfident as a teenager and maybe you spoke back to your parents? If you're like most, you probably got a quick reply back from mom or dad. "Don't you take that tone of voice with me," or something just like it. Just remember, don't you take that tone of voice with anyone. Exercise. What are the situations where you might be tempted to use the wrong tone of voice? It could be when a patient criticizes, complains, or unjustly condemns you or the practice. Maybe it's when the patient questions your recommendations. What are the triggers that tempt you to raise your voice or use the wrong tone of voice? Identify them and rehearse how you might respond with the proper tone of voice. Action. Use the right tone of voice in all your interactions. It may be the most influential thing you do that impacts how patients feel about you, your office, and your recommendations. Now, go master that tone of voice.